Gentlemen, welcome to another live chat with James episode. I hope that you turned in earlier when I streamed live the Mark Carney rally in Surrey, British Columbia. Over 1,000 people turned out in the Agriplex at the Cloverdale Rodeo Grounds in Surrey, British Columbia to hear what he had to say and to support Mark Carney and the Liberal Party as we move closer to Election Day in British Columbia. The event that took place this evening, of course, had a few hecklers who were quickly ushered out of the building. But other than that, it was the same old in terms of political rallies and what you would expect. There were some protests out front, or at least a rally in support of hospital support workers who are here on the temporary work visas and other programs that have allowed them to be here to provide support, whether that is food services, cleaning, and other services in our local hospitals and healthcare facilities. And at this time, of course, we know that with changes to the program, many of them are facing expired visas soon and will have to return home. This, of course, puts a lot more pressure within our healthcare system where it's already strained. We need to make sure that we support the healthcare system and that they have the resources, including the people who are dedicated to caring for those at their most vulnerable moments. And that includes cleaning hospitals, that includes the food services, that includes all of the things that you take for granted because you're focused on your health, you're focused on your injury, you're focused on your recovery. And of course, at that point, we are focused on the doctors and the nurses providing the healthcare services directly. A lot of times it goes overlooked, all of the people behind the scenes that keep our hospitals and healthcare facilities functioning. So again, those individuals from different areas of British Columbia showed up tonight at the rally for Mark Carney with their signage. At that time, our local MP, Suk Dhaliwal, took a moment to speak with the crowd, to speak with them about these concerns. And again, showing that the community definitely has the support of Mr. Dhaliwal within his grasps and in his sights as he hopes to win his seat once again. We know that other points throughout the province, we see other issues that are of concern. And that doesn't just stop at the boundaries of British Columbia. It actually travels from coast to coast to coast here in Canada. And one of those things that we haven't heard a lot about in the news, whether it is the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, the Greens, or anyone else, and that is the transnational repression and foreign interference that's become a very, very important topic for a lot of the minority communities within our country. We know that there have been Chinese police stations that have been shut down in Canada. We know that there has been potential involvement of the India government when it comes to the extrajudicial killing and the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. We also know that there have been other assassination plots and attempts, as well as other criminal and extortion, bribery, and so many other activities that have been at the front of the transnational repression and foreign interference campaign to end that. We also know that there has been recent information coming out about another Surrey candidate for the Conservative Party, Mr. Pander, and that was in relation to a photo that surfaced online of him on a stage with an Indian police officer in India. Now, that wouldn't be a big story, except that this Indian police officer is directly linked to the accusations of transnational repression, but also within the boundaries of India, of murder, of genocide activity in India, as well as the death of several youth at a peaceful protest. So this led to the World Sikh Organization of Canada, as well as the many other organizations, asking both Pierre Poilievre and directly Mr. Pander why exactly he was on that stage sharing what seemed to be a very interesting conversation where they were, seemed to be lighthearted and laughing. So again, the foreign interference rears its ugly head across Canada. But again, there could be explanations for that, and we try to give Mr. Pender the benefit of the doubt, but there are lingering questions that need to be addressed. With that said, of course, here locally tonight, we know that Mark Carney was in town, as I touched on at the top here. And I did cover that directly. I brought a live stream to TikTok here earlier tonight of the event. I hope that you enjoyed that for those of you who were a part of it. And for those that missed it, I will be reposting the videos so you can catch up on what happened at the event in Surrey, British Columbia. The countdown is definitely on, though. We know that there are only 4 more days to Election Day. Record numbers of people across Canada have turned out for the advance polling, and it was over 7 million people that participated in advance polling and casting their votes in this federal election. The timeline is counting down, and yet the Conservatives with Pierre Poilievre are still putting out different points and different policies that they are proposing to bring forward. And one of them is an anti-woke policy that was just released again by Pierre Poilievre, and it seems to be just an addition to his platform that he's already brought forward. And I thought it was quite funny tonight. Mark Carney accused the Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre at grasping at straws, which was a little dig at their policy that they want to tackle. The ban on reusable plastics, including plastic shopping bags and plastic straws. So that was a funny moment at the Carney rally. Mark Carney also stood up against Donald Trump, as Donald Trump again was repeating the bullshit of his desire to have Canada become a 51st state. And Mark Carney addressed that directly, stating that they will never, and when I say they, meaning us as Canadians, we will never bow down to the dictator Trump. We will never give in to the U.S. wanting us to be a 51st state, and we will fight with everything that we have to get past this economic pressure that Donald Trump is trying to put on Canada and destroy our economy, forcing us to become a 51st state. So it was very clear in Mark Carney's address tonight that that is not going to happen. We are going to stand as Canadians. We're going to stand and we will fight to the very end to keep our sovereignty here in Canada. So a very clear message to Donald Trump. As Mark Carney did address this issue about Donald Trump going off again about us becoming a 51st state, the over 1,000 people in the Agriplex did boo Donald Trump, and Mark Carney joined them in the booing of Donald Trump again, just showing how unstable Donald Trump is down in the United States, not only for U.S. citizens and his country, but for the global economy, for world trade, and of course diplomacy. So we have a lot of concerns going on there. Let's jump over for a few minutes here and we'll talk about some local things. If you are traveling on the number 1 highway later tonight or over the next several days, say between 216th and 232nd, just be careful of any surprises, such as people driving towards you like they're playing chicken. The fact is that there will be lane closures on the number 1 highway. They are doing some more work and construction. So again, there will be construction zones. It will be reduced lanes, and you will have to slow down and use caution. Please look out for all of the workers on the highway as they continue to try to expand it to work on our infrastructure. Once again, these workers do have families they want to get home to at the end of the day, and as do you. So again, use extreme caution as you travel on the number 1 between 216th and 232nd over the next several days. And again, that's a lot of night construction. So just drive safe, folks. It's going to be interesting. Speaking of navigating tricky situations, as I said, we know that we are in the deep of the final stretch of the election, and it's going to be interesting. So Monday is looming right here in BC, where it's all going down. Apparently, forget the scenic mountains and the beautiful ocean view. It seems that we have actually become a battleground for the election. They're saying that it is going to be so tight that even NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and Green Party leader Elizabeth May might be in trouble in their own BC ridings. So again, it's going to have to be right down to the bones there. And it is just some more serious election drama going on out there. Now again, as I touched on, the Conservatives added an anti-woke pledge to their platform. Still trying to figure out exactly what that means for my morning coffee, but hey, we'll figure that out. The Liberals, meanwhile, are apparently asking for a majority, which is quite a bold ask at this point. And everyone, and I do mean everyone, is talking about housing, the cost of living, especially here in places like the Lower Mainland, out in Kelowna, and other regions across the country. It is a very big concern. We've talked to real estate agents, we've talked to developers and others, and it just seems that things are not moving in terms of real estate within BC, especially the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley. It has really slowed down, so we'll have to look at that. There are people who are calling for the reduced limits for foreign purchasers and to reduce the foreign ownership tax on empty homes and vacant homes in order to try to spur along the real estate market right now, as locals just don't seem to be buying it at rates that we've seen in recent years. It is really quiet that way. Once again, as I said, Donald Trump has popped up speaking about Canada becoming the 51st state. And, you know, that is just not on the table. It's not in the cards, but thanks for the suggestion, Mr. Trump. We'll take it under advisement. But until then, just shut your pie hole, Donald Trump, is my personal opinion. But with that, he's also hinting that the 25% auto tariffs could go up. And this is just another example of his bipolar policy, and that is to one day turn around state that, you know, the borders are definitely getting more secure. There's less people getting across the border from Canada into the U.S. There's less fentanyl. And then he turns around while he's saying that that all of these tariffs and restrictions on Canada have to do with that. Now he's talking about increasing tariffs once again. So it really adds instability not only to the auto manufacturers throughout North America, but it adds a lot of instability to all budgets, whether that is business, corporate, and also on our personal budgets at home. Because as these tariffs continue, of course, it drives the cost of living up for all of us, not just those in the United States, but also here in Canada. 555 Faring at Leo, welcome to the program. So yeah, again, we've got to watch how the instability of the US right now is still playing havoc within our markets, whether that's the stock markets or commodities, energy, so many other things that we are concerned about. One thing that has been addressed is the reduction of the carbon tax, or the removal of the carbon tax has brought fuel prices down. I've noticed a few stations like Esso just down on 176 and 32nd. Again, they are probably one of the most expensive stations around. If you are traveling and heading towards the border or coming into Canada and looking to fuel up, I always advise that you avoid the Esso station at 176 and 32nd Avenue, as they gouge. They're over 12 cents more expensive than any other gas station around, pretty much. Let's see. We are concerned about the immediate removal of Maple MAGA. Yes, that is a big concern. Thank you for joining me from Alberta. Gotta love Alberta. I will be there in June for the International Banff Media Festival, and I've been there many years, and I'm looking forward to being back again this year in Banff. I also love Calgary. I love Edmonton. I love a lot about Alberta. So regardless as to pipelines and all the other arguments that we see between our provincial leaders. I love Alberta, so what can I say? It's a beautiful province. When we talk about the immediate removal of Maple Mega, well, it is, as I said, getting very up here in Fort McMurray, working the oil sands. I have been up there, and you know what? The only thing I don't like about that is the drive. Those potholes that can swallow up tractor trailers along the highway between Edmonton and Fort McMurray. Let's face it, they are ugly, some of those potholes. I actually was driving up there one time, I'll tell you, and I actually hit a pothole on the highway. And it was such an abrupt and big pothole that did so much damage. It actually caused the water pump to shear off and went right through my fan and my rod. So yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, that highway's definitely something that could be worked on. Maybe that'll be the next premier of Alberta can use that as an election promise to fix that highway. But yeah, as I said, there's just a lot of different things going on, and Maple MAGA, yes, there are a lot of concerns out there about that. And again, it seems that a lot of the talking points by the Conservatives have to do with repeating a lot of, or parroting a lot of the policy of Donald Trump, and then trying to fit that into their narrative. So again, it is not my choices for Conservatives. I think that they have relied too much on bumper sticker slogans and regurgitated Trump crap to have that support of the Conservatives for me personally. But again, we're looking at change from the Liberals. We've got, just the options are very limited right now in how we see it. The continuation of the election process is interesting because we've seen some more foreign interference and other questionable activity going on, but nowhere near anything that I think will impact the final election results. So that should be all right. In the international world, today there was actually an earthquake that hit Istanbul, Turkey today. It was a 6.2 magnitude. And if you're online, check out some of the video because there were news crews that were actually, or newsrooms that were broadcasting live for their news segments, and all of a sudden the earthquake hit. These people were so calm and cool about it, they just kept on broadcasting while things are shaking and moving around them. So that's calmness as it goes. Quickly looking at some other international stories before we jump back to Canadian stuff, is that the truly awful news out of Kashmir, that there was a horrific terrorist attack that killed over 25 people and injured 17 others in a calmer area of Kashmir. This is a tourist-heavy destination in the region, one of the most beautiful areas in the world. If you've ever been there, great. If not, take a look at some of the images from the Kashmir region. It is absolutely spectacular. But unfortunately, tragedy unfolded when there was a terrorist attack, as I said, killing over 25 and injuring 17 others in the region. The region has been known for flare-ups of violence, civil unrest, and other incidents of terrorism over the years. But over the last previous few years here, it's actually gotten better. It's gotten calmer, and there's been a restoration of some level of tourism. And unfortunately, this is going to have a very large effect on the tourism industry and that tourism economy that they rely on so much in that area. And so again, our thoughts are with the victims and their families tonight in Kashmir, and it is a stark reminder of the dangers out there in different areas. When it comes to 555 Farang, talking about the Israeli government has ended over 500,000 people's lives in Palestine, mostly women and children. Yes, there are many, that's 50,000 you put there. But yes, there are many tragedies unfolding around the world, and we need to see a lot more stability for different countries to be putting pressure on Israel, on Hamas, on Russia even, and so many other regions, that there is a lot of terrorism, there's war, there's violence, there's genocides, and I will go as far as saying that there is genocides going on throughout the world that we need dealt with. We can't sit back and just say it doesn't matter to me because it's not in my country. When people are arguing about the supply of whether it is humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, whether it's humanitarian aid to Ukraine, defense spending, this all comes out of budgets that are not going to be allocated for domestic use. These are to fulfill our international obligations as members of the UN, as members of NATO, as members of many different organizations. And we've committed to a certain percentage of our budgets to help in those areas. Now, the world is a small place. A lot of people say, well, that could be put into schools in Canada. It can be there to help our seniors. It can be reallocated to help the homeless. And yes, there are a lot of issues that we should be dealing with within our own borders. That is not up for dispute. We know that. It's very clear. But what kind of a world do we live in if we are not trying to also work towards ending poverty, ending war, ending violence against those who may not have a voice? They aren't able to stand up and speak out. And that is an important part to look at. Now, when you look at the military spending when it comes to areas such as whether it's Israel, whether it is Ukraine, or anywhere else, people think that this is just cash going out the door to these countries. And for the most part, it is very little in terms of actual cash. What happens is that whether it's in the US, whether it's in the UK, or anywhere else, a lot of times that financial commitment is in the volume of military aid, which is equipment, munitions, drones, all of these things that maybe getting outdated here in our countries, in the Western nations, or that are able to be sent there, and then that creates jobs within our own borders. So in the US, in Canada, in Europe. Now, when we send all of this military equipment to Ukraine or to other regions, we have to replace that. So again, it's creating jobs, it's putting money back into our local economy, both locally, nationally, and into the NATO members' budgets. So when you look at that, a lot of people don't understand that when they argue about, for example, NATO and the membership by the United States, they're saying they shouldn't be sending money there. A lot of the money that has been spent by NATO over the last several decades has been spent in the US. A very large proportion of the money spent by NATO members is spent buying products and equipment from United States manufacturers. So again, by trying to pull away from NATO, it's actually going to harm the US budgets as well as employment and other things, the economy and such as well. So again, a lot of people don't understand the inner workings of that. But once again, let's go back to Palestine and, the aid that's not getting through because, again, it is blocked in the borders. They are not allowing a lot of the humanitarian workers and the humanitarian aid to get through. And that should be a very big concern to everybody around the world, that there is humanitarian items and aid available, but it is not being allowed to be brought to the people that need it the most. That is a horrific way to make people pay, to starve them, and really it is against a lot of international law. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, we know that the International Criminal Court has put a warrant out for his arrest for crimes against humanity for many different atrocities. But again, there are certain countries that are not willing to enforce or have not enforced, although they've had the opportunity to do so on that arrest warrant. So they haven't done that. And that's something else that's being addressed by the International Criminal Court. They are reaching out to the signatory nations governments that have failed to make that arrest or execute the warrant on their soil when Benjamin Netanyahu has visited there. Of note, though, that does not include the United States. The United States came on with the International Criminal Court, but they never actually followed through to become a signatory member. So that's why the U.S. is not obligated to arrest him on U.S. soil. And that's because they are not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, which a lot of people overlook because they assume that they would be, and they are not. As we continue on, we can just remember again that the election is happening on Monday, so just make sure that you're ready to go out and vote. The bright side of over 7 million people doing the advanced voting is that it'll cut down on some of the lineups and the rushes at the local locations to cast your vote. If you have not received your voter card and don't know where your local polling station will be, you can look it up at Elections Canada. So just Google Elections Canada and you can find out where your polling stations are, where to go and cast your ballot in your local community, as well as the hours and such. Keep in mind also that if you are working on election day, that it is law that your employer allow you time to visit the polls. It's within certain hours. So again, it is under the Labor Act, it's under the Election Act and other laws that you are afforded the opportunity to vote. If you are scheduled to work, your employer has to make accommodations for you to be able to do that. Why am here? You ask, why do people still believe it matters who they vote for? Because they are all from the same bird. Well, you know, it is tough because you look at a lot of the election campaigns and you say, okay, you're not looking at who's going to do the best for the country or for the certain groups. You're looking at who's going to do the least amount of damage. And that's the reality of it for a lot of people. You hear so much from the politicians and what they promise. And then when it comes time to deliver, it is another story. So yes, it is frustrating. But at the end of the day, I think that people have to have some level of confidence in the elected leaders and to have their voices heard. When it comes to actually voting people in and them not following through or them not following through on the policy, on the promises, that's where it's up to everybody to speak loudly and put their feet down to demand that those changes are made or that the policies do make it forward. But again, it is a very tough sell to have confidence in the political system. So yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of people honestly ask, what's the difference of voting? But again, get out and have your voice heard. It does make a difference at the end of the day. It's just tough because there's so much lost confidence and credibility in politics. And at the same time, we can look at a clear example right now played out that has probably never been so visually clear, that people voted in the U.S. for Donald Trump. And I'm just using this as an example because it's so clear. Now, they voted for his platforms and for dealing with uncontrolled immigration and so forth. But they also voted on the principles that he was advancing, in the thought that he would do it within the boundaries of the Constitution of the United States, that he would respect the laws as well as due process. And that has all been thrown out the window. And a lot of people that voted for Trump are caught up in this campaign by ICE and the Trump administration to remove not only illegals, but just all kinds of people are getting caught up in the mess. So yeah, and again, I just use that as an example because it just shows a very clear visualization of what happens when the elections are over and promises that aren't kept or policies that you thought you supported are actually a lot more stringent, or being done in ways that don't honor the Constitution, or in Canada here, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So again, it is a legitimate question to ask: why are we going to continue doing that? Yawn, yep, LOL, yes, absolutely. It does keep the lies going to some extent, but again, if you don't vote, then unfortunately you really don't have a voice. You're taking your own voice away. If more people got out and voted and made their opinions very clearly known, then maybe we could see some change there. But unfortunately, it's such a small number of people that vote in comparison to those who are eligible to vote. And again, by keeping silent, you're not helping either. So it's a tough one. It really is. It's a tough sell to a lot of people to say get out and vote, and try to vote on the platforms that are put forward, when those platforms don't necessarily materialize into actions after elections. So yeah, I get you. Why I'm here, I totally get your comments. I understand it. And yes, you're absolutely right. But at the end of the day, folks, it has been a long one. Once again, as I said, I was out at the Carney rally tonight, locally here in Surrey, British Columbia. And there were some hecklers that got quickly ushered out of the location. But if you missed the live stream of the Carney rally tonight, I will be reposting the videos, so you'll be able to watch that. If you missed the other rallies, of course, you can tune into CPAC, and they actually have videos there of all of the political rallies that have taken place. So if you want to watch those, personally, I have refused to attend any of the conservative events, and it's not because I don't support trying to give equal time to all candidates or all parties. The reason I have stood back from covering the Conservative Party is the simple fact that they are not supporting the media. Pierre Poilievre has not allowed the media to travel along with him during the campaign trail, which is a real change and a drastic change from what's happened traditionally in the election process in Canada. So if he's not willing to support the media, then I don't see why I should go out and support promoting his platform and his team. So that's why I have not covered the Conservative Party live rallies and events. So just so we're clear, it's not a personal thing. Well, usually I try to give fairness to everybody, but at this point, if he's not willing to support the media when the media is struggling to continue in our country, then that is a shot against democracy in my world, because media and the freedom of the press is an essential part of keeping democracy going. Why I'm here, thank you for joining us. Good night, and again, hope you get out to vote. With that said, folks, it is late here. It is 12:49 a.m. in British Columbia. I'm coming to you from the ProPix TV studios in South Surrey, British Columbia. Thanking you for tuning in. If you are watching the repeat of this program, by all means, feel free to leave your comments in the comments section, because I do review them, and I may bring them up and reply to them on future episodes. Or if you have topic ideas that you would like to see stories covered on the show for future episodes, by all means, you're welcome to do that as well. You are as much a part of the show as I am. It is a live program for a reason, and it's always appreciated when people actually take time to put their comments up, because it adds to the conversation and it really steers the program as to what you want to discuss. With that said, again, folks, you have a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow night.